Okay.
Hey,
Okay.
good day, people. Welcome to Conversations with SD Booker. Today we got a special guest, a business partner, a friend, man, a brother. We got CEO Michael Watkins of 1619 Gaming Group. Hey, welcome, brother. How you doing?
Hey, man, it's an honor to be here, Book. I followed you for now 2.5 years, and to see your growth continue and to see the great things that you're doing, to be invited to be on your platform, the honor is mine. Respect.
Well, thank you, brother. Thank you for those words. Hey, likewise, the honor is mine to have you here. You one of the guys I really look up to, admire. You may not know that, but I'm watching you. I'm like, man, this guy is doing things. So I'm really honored for you to take the time out to speak with me because I know you're a busy man. So,
Yeah,
so thank you.
love.
So, like I said, you are the CEO of 1619 Gaming Group. Um, I brought you on to talk about your game, your new project, Big Stakes 5. But we're gonna take it back before we touch on that. We'll get back to that. So
Okay.
let's take it all the way back. Who is Michael Watkins?
You know, because I've seen your previous interviews,
Oh,
I knew this question was coming, and it woke me up at 2:30 this morning
oh
because
wow, man.
I said I need an appropriate answer, But the reality is, I thought you were gonna phrase it as if an alien came from from another world,
Right.
and they just met Mike Watkins, who is Michael Watkins, But no, I am, and I say that with purpose, and I know you understand the true meaning behind I am. Uh, I'd like to consider myself a man, a servant of the people. And I have long pondered, like many people do, what is in fact my purpose. And so I think as a servant of the people, I'm a vehicle by which the angels, as I call them, uh, communicate with others and provide to others. And so, in no one specific circumstance or methodology, but in many different ways, I think that is brought forth. And so, I don't think Michael Watkins is any one particular thing other than a communicator uh, to those that need it at whatever time and by whatever vehicle.
There you go. I like that. I am
I
whatever I
am.
need to be. Yeah. Right. Right.
Exactly.
I love that.
I am not the highest by any stretch. I
Right.
am, but I am, you know,
Right.
and I don't take that lightly either, because I do recognize it as a gift, and that has taken a while to understand. But as I have had many experiences, book that I've looked back on, and I now realize that it was not me, my mind. It was someone, through the source speaking through me,
Yeah.
and so my job was simply not to get in the way and allow that to flow through me.
Right. Right. It's beautiful that you stated that. I kind of want to piggyback off of that. I like to say, and I said this recently at a function I was speaking at, and I was trying to explain God and what we play in that and how we're connected to God. So I use the example of say God is a huge, limitless body of water.
Mhm.
Well, with no end, no limitations, infinite, right?
Right.
We individually may be a wave, a droplet,
Yeah,
or a current, anything. We
yeah,
all have
yeah.
different impacts, right? But we all come from the source, right?
Yes,
Now
absolutely.
you may be a huge wave that that if you don't know your value, can be easily conquered, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I do know a small cup of water can drown someone too,
That's true.
right?
That is true.
So
Yes, absolutely.
we all have impact. We all come from the source, and if we come from the source, I mean God is within us. We are He is us, and we're powerful.
Exactly.
Now we're not the
Exactly.
source like you stated, but I come from
Right.
the source. Right. Right.
From the source. Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
I've spent quite a bit of time, especially I'd say probably the last 10 years in earnest, searching, and what I call it is my journey for truth. And that is truth and understanding, truth and love, truth in knowledge. And that's what has been revealed to me. I started very early following the teachings of Dr. Wayne Dwyer, and I would see his specials on PBS. Phenomenal presentation, phenomenal speaker. Rest in peace, of course. But when I heard him describe once, he was attempting to define what is love, and he broke it down to the atom. And when you do that, and what he taught us in his presentation that night was that the atom itself is not a connected piece of being. The molecules, that you have your neutron, your proton, and electrons, but they're not touching. They're not physically touching.
Mm-hmm.
So what he was saying is that love is what connects those things. And so, that in between. And
The
so
bonding agent. Yeah.
bonding, exactly. And so, that when I started that journey, that's kind of what led me to the point where I am today, that helped me understand and realize, uh, you know, what where I fit in,
Right.
in
Right.
that role, in that purpose.
Wow. Wow. I never thought of that. I don't even think I heard that from Dwyer, but wow, that's powerful.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
Wow. So like
The power of intention. If you go
yes.
back and check that
Yes.
one out, that was from that presentation.
Yes, your why. Why am I
Mhm.
doing this? Yeah.
Exactly.
And from your why, you'll come to the understanding, is this rooted in righteousness, love, or is rooted in ego? Like, where is this rooted in?
Yes.
Yeah, why
Yes.
am I doing this? Why do I want this? Right.
Right. Right. Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
and and I have not necessarily karma, uh, but to the extent that if my what I'm involved in is not based in truth and based in love, then I already know it's not going to succeed. And
Right.
so I'm very keen to make sure that if I have say within the methodology of whatever, the process, that it is in fact based and rooted in those principles, because otherwise it's not going to succeed.
Right. Right. Yeah, man, I agree. I agree. Once again, people, we have CEO Michael Watkins of 1619 Gaming Group with us here to talk about his new project, Big Stakes 5. We'll get to that, but I want to touch on his history. How did he get into the business? Um, is he competent? Should we buy into Michael Watkins' project, basically? So let's address the elephant in the room.
Okay.
Obviously, you're a black man
Yes.
and you're in the gaming industry. We don't see that often. Now there are some
Right.
people in the gaming industry, prominent black people, but I don't think there's enough of us on the business end,
Very true. Right.
right? I mean, you have uh, was it Andrew Augustine, Gordon Bellamy, those people, but and maybe there is a lot of us, but we're just not the average consumer or spectator is not tapped in enough to know if we have a big stake, no pun intended, in
Right. Right.
the gaming industry.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
let's take it back. How did you get into the gaming industry as a consumer? How long have you been in it as a consumer? Because not all children are into gaming. So what What was it about the gaming that really took you by storm?
You know, it was through, I think, uh, SD, I need to frame how I came into gaming. And so not to make the story too long,
No, no.
but
Let's go.
to add a proper context of how this particular venture came about. My business partner, Neil Allen, and I, we did the first ever soccer, a Mexican professional soccer match in the Southeast.
Wow.
And this was all the way back in 2005. And we brought Club America, which is the equivalent in Mexican professional soccer, the Dallas Cowboys, let's say. Uh, and when we did that, no one thought we would succeed. And so we said, no, we can do that. Everybody said, well, first, to your very first point, you're Black. And then secondly, you don't speak the language. You don't, I didn't speak Spanish. But we were successful, had a huge event. And, we like to tease and, although we really are serious when we say, when you look at soccer now in Atlanta with Atlanta United, for example, you got 80,000 in the Georgia Dome. We started that, but okay. But when we did that, we realized there was an undercurrent, if you will, of amateur soccer players all throughout Atlanta. And it was huge in terms of the revenue that was being generated on a weekly basis. And so we figured, okay, obviously we can't do and compete with the World Cup, but there can be an equivalent for amateur soccer players. These guys, they play every weekend. When I was in college, we would drive down George Washington Parkway, and you see the guys playing soccer every Sunday, every weekend, and that happens in cities all across the country,
Right.
amateur players.
Right.
So we said, you know what, we're going to do $1 million soccer tournament, and we set sail on that venture. We were fortunate to have huge sponsors. And we're talking Fortune 500 sponsor levels. We had television through Gold TV. We had, even based on my relationship with the late great Lamar Hunt, who had just built Frisco Park, that now home of the Dallas Star, not Dallas Stars, but the Dallas. And so we were putting this incredible event together, and United States Soccer Federation rolled in on us, and essentially, let's call it what it is. It was a shakedown. And so they wanted 15%. They weren't going to help market. They weren't going to help promote. They weren't going to sell any tickets, weren't going to help get any sponsors. And we're like, why would we just give you 15%?
Right.
So we put it on the shelf. We go to Vegas to celebrate Neil's 50th birthday, just surprise celebration. One of the guys that works with us brings the young lady to the event, and we're at the Bellagio and having drinks, just socializing, and you kind of common courtesy, hey, what do you do? Introduce yourself, kind of thing. She says, I'm a professional domino player. So we're like, oh, everybody laugh, ha ha ha. Professional domino player.
We all say that.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
Right.
really, how much money did you make? Miss Professional Domino Player. She said, well, I made about 75 to 90,000. Oh, really? Okay. And how did you do this? And so she proceeded to explain it to us. We like, we can take the soccer model, apply it to dominoes, and do $1 million domino tournament. Okay. Well, then but the first question was, is there a governing body? Because we did not want another group to roll in on us after we put all this effort, all this work into it, got all these different things lined up. I mean, and SD, when I say lined up, I mean we even met with then Mayor, uh, the billionaire that just ran for president, out of New York.
Yeah, I know you're talking about too.
His name slips my mind, but the billionaire that was then mayor of New York.
Right.
And we went with his team. We were traveling literally across the country. But anyway, fast forward, we said, okay, we can do that, do the same thing, do the model. But then the whole idea was, okay, in the traditional domino game, you play with using pen and paper. And look, hey, you might be my guy, but can I trust that you're going to write down my score correctly?
Right.
And so we needed a mechanism, if you will, to keep the integrity of the game.
Yeah, we call that pencil whipping.
Pencil whipping. There you go.
Yes,
exactly. Yeah. And so that was the impetus of how the game was created, and that was my introduction to gaming in the true sense, because prior to that, I tried. My wife, she's fortunate. She works for GameStop, and so she gets to bring home different games at different times. At one point, when I was working for my grandfather's foundation, we had Sony as one of the sponsors. So Sony gave PlayStations to the guys that were participating in the game. They gave them games, and of course, I got one. As CEO of the foundation.
Right.
Well, I played one night Grand Theft Auto. It had just come out. Next thing I knew, from the time that I started playing, it was 3.5 hours later.
Oh, easy.
Easy. I said, I can't do this. If there is such a thing that's going to get me engrossed and take my time, and I have no idea how long I've been playing, I have no concept of time.
Right.
I can't do it. And so, but my point is that was my introduction to. And so I thought, I won't ever be a gamer. Even when we created the game, I was not a domino player. I didn't play dominoes growing up, and I'm not a poker player either. So, but we'll talk about it. But that helped me in the end.
Right. So I was curious about this. Where did the name 1619 Gaming Group come from? What is that? What's the story behind that?
Yeah, that's a great question. You alluded to the fact that there are so few African Americans in gaming, and while you have a very select few at the top, and you do have quite a number of programmers and coders that are working for these different companies, gaming companies and whatnot, but very few at the head in the C-suite. Right. So 1619 is an opportunity for us to pay homage to our ancestors that while they made the trek across unknown seas, we're now creating that bridge in the digital divide and now sailing the digital seas. So it's an opportunity for us to pay homage to those that came before us. 1619 obviously is a very important point in the demarcation of when our people were no longer free, if you will. And so it's really out of respect and honor for those that came before us, that paved the way. They imprinted us with the ability to survive and do anything that we want to do. And so for us, there's no greater way to pay respect and homage to those that came before us.
Wow, I agree. Powerful, profound name. You alluded to and we won't touch on this too long, but you alluded to you were governing or running your grandfather's foundation. I just want to let the people know your grandfather is the late and the great, respected, honorable Coach Eddie. Yes. Coach Eddie Robertson, of Grambling University. So piggybacking off of that, or expounding on that, it's obvious hearing your story that you weren't necessarily a gamer, per se, in a typical sense, but it's obvious that you had that entrepreneur spirit. So
Mhm.
where did you get that from? Were you groomed to be that way, or is just in your DNA?
Yeah, I think in a lot of ways, while not purposefully, I was groomed to be that way. And here's why. See, I grew up in my grandfather's household, my sister and I. And so from the time that I was in the fifth grade up until I graduated college, I literally lived in his household. And so while he was world renowned, if you will, as a head football coach at Grambling State, and ultimately becoming the winningest coach in Division I college football and all these great things. What people really don't know is that my grandfather was an entrepreneur. So
I didn't know that.
anytime, yeah, we owned apartment complexes, and so that was one of his ventures. But as now, have come to know the town city of Grambling, there's quite a bit of opportunity in terms of if you're an entrepreneur
Right.
to bring businesses into the community. And so even though we had the apartments, my grandfather was always trying to do more, but my grandmother wouldn't let him. so so he wanted to, when they at one point they had a Sonic, and but he wanted to do that way before. He wanted to do a McDonald's. He
Uh,
wanted to do a hotel, and then even a grocery store. But all of these different things, and I would hear him. Uh, Maybe lament is not fair, but he was eager, above and beyond. He's got daily schedule for coaching and recruiting and all these different things. Yet he had a drive to do more.
mm,
And so I think that's where it started in terms of understanding that you can always do more. Uh, and then from there, I like to tell people, SD, I don't think I've ever had a real job. And what I mean by that is, I graduated, got my commission as a second lieutenant in the United States Air Force. But when I had left the Air Force, I went to work for my family, and then I went to work for myself. And I've been working for myself ever since. And so to that end, that's where that entrepreneurial drive comes from. It's really for me, and it doesn't work for everyone, but I just don't necessarily believe in making somebody else's dreams, come true. I want to make my dreams come true, and
right.
then through my efforts, then if I can help someone along the way, okay, that's great. But I gotta be,
Right.
running the show. Not because I've been, you know, top dog. I've been number two, maybe even number three
Right.
at different points in the company. But I've always been C-suite.
Right.
So
Right.
and that is just part of who I am as a leader. Um, but I think that's critical, as well.
Oh, no doubt. So, and we'll get into Big Sticks 5 gaming, your new project. And once again, people, I got CEO Michael Watkins, CEO of 1619 Gaming Group. We're going to talk about his big project that's coming out tomorrow, actually, New Year's Day.
Yeah,
Big
yeah.
Stakes 5. It's a twist to it. It's dominoes mixed with poker, chips. It's a twist to it. We'll get into that. Just kind of want to dive into his history a little bit. So, what are some of the obstacles you faced as an entrepreneur that other budding entrepreneurs can take from your lessons or your trials and tribulations?
Yeah, that's a great question, SD. The biggest obstacle I think that most any entrepreneur will face, easily the inclination is to say capital. It's not capital. The universe will provide you whatever you need. It's the belief, the thought that I can and I will. And I often have this conversation with our team members, not my business partner. Neil is about as driven as anyone else, can be. But we explain to people sometimes you just have to will things into reality. And if you don't know how to do that, uh, or if you don't have the fortitude to do that, then you are in the wrong line of work as